Take a sip, take a seat. It's coffee o'clock. Assalamualaikum and good evening, everyone. I am Nikki and welcome to the second episode of the first ever season of Coffee O'Clock by IIUM TV. So, for today's episode, our topic is discovering talent in poetry, where we have a very special guest joining us to, enlighten all of you with, well, you guessed it, poetry writing. So, without any more delay, why don't we, introduce our guest for tonight's episode, where we have none other than the Vice President of IIUM Poetry Club, Sister Dhia Qistina Alfa. Hi, Sister D. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for joining our show for tonight.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So, for without, just in case our viewers out there don't know who you are, could you please introduce yourself a bit?
Well, hi everybody. I am Dhia Qistina. As you all know, I am the Vice President and I'm just a mere student just like you who is interested in writing poetry and reading other people's poetry. Yeah, that's who I am.
All right, so very concise and very cute introduction from Sister D. So before we proceed with the interview, I would just like to remind all of the viewers out there to give tonight's episode a very big thumbs up, because we're going live on IIUM TV's YouTube channel. So without further ado, Sister D, why don't we go on with our first question for you?
Of course.
Sure. Okay. So first of all, I want to know, D, can you tell us more about IIUM Poetry Club? Like, what is it about? How can people join the club? And are there any specific requirements into joining IIUM Poetry Club?
Okay, so IIUM Poetry Club is basically, it's self-explanatory, and IIUM Poetry Club is just a safe space for students in IIUM to express themselves, to write poetry in English, basically. And the aim of, you don't have to, you don't need to require anything to join this club. Basically, you just have to give us a DM on our official Instagram at IIUM Poetry Club, and I am pretty sure that you will literally be in the club as soon as possible.
So it's very easy to join the club.
It's easy because it's for everybody. Anyone can join the club.
Anyone with interest can join the club. Yeah, all right. So moving on to the second one, when did you actually start joining IIUM Poetry Club?
I started joining the Poetry Club when I was in my first semester. And when I joined, when I was like searching for clubs to join, I just found out that there's a poetry club in IIUM. So then I was like, you know what? I love poetry and I am a literature junkie. So why not join IIUM Poetry Club? Because it exists.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it exists. And turns out, the rest is history, of course. I never left this club and I became like the Vice President. Wow. And it's such a fun club to be in. And I bet you would join this club.
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
You seem the type.
We'll see about that, inshallah,
Yeah.
sometime in the future. Okay, so
Inshallah.
next, what is actually the aim of establishing IIUM Poetry Club?
Okay, so the aim of establishing this poetry club, it was established back in 2000, and I'm not the founder of the club, of course, but like one thing that I can say about the aim of this club is, like I said, it's just a safe space for IIUM students to actually express themselves through poetry in English, of course, and basically, it's a club where you should not feel shy about. It's a very warm community. As soon as you enter this club, you will definitely feel so welcome, and you should not feel very shy because everybody in the club are just as timid, as eager to learn about people and poetry, just like everyone else.
Oh, all right. So that's why you stayed since first year,
Yeah,
first sem up until
because I found
now.
my people there.
Wow, so it's like a family there.
Yep.
Wow, very interesting. So apparently, IIUM Poetry Club is under Chitra, right?
Yes.
And do you ever collaborate with other clubs, in collaboration with other clubs? Like, are there events or activities and whatnot?
So far, I joined this club when the pandemic already started and everything has to be held online, so I didn't get to experience many of the fun physical activities that I know. But I know that they actually, I know that this club actually collaborated with the Malay version of Poetry Club, which is Club Pesuratan. I found out that there's a Malay version of this club.
Wow.
Yeah,
this is my first time finding out about it too.
Yeah, I just found out about it when we were planning to collab one day. But so far for activities, we just we don't really collab with other clubs much, as in this tenure. We only do like small group bonding at gatherings, and it's also known as writing circle, by the way.
Ooh, very cute.
Yeah, it's where you guys hang out and meet each other, and you guys would like, we would give you guys like 5 to 10 minutes to write your poetry according to the theme of that day, according to the prompt.
5 to 10?
Yeah.
Is that enough time?
It's enough time actually. You don't know how much like words that you can like let out for under 10 minutes. It's just so amazing. I didn't know that people could express so much words in such little time, honestly. Yeah, and you get to know so much about that person, specific person, if they're writing.
The words they use.
Yeah, the words they use, their personal style that they actually never figured out yet.
There are different styles of poetry?
Of course, there are. It's quite different for everybody. Maybe the way you write poetry is different, the way I write it is different. So, yeah.
Okay, so other than that, like you said, you started online, kan?
Yep.
So, like, how about you? Have you joined a lot of poetry, maybe competition before this?
As for me, I am a person who likes to share my work for my own people, for my own good, for my own self-indulgence, basically. I don't really like to compete, in my opinion. And no offense if you guys like to join in competitions to showcase your talent, poetry. Go for it. I support that. I salute that. But like, for me, I literally never join any competitions at all, because like I feel like every single person has different perceptions of poetry. Yeah, they like maybe according to you, a good poetry is different than a good poetry to me.
True.
Therefore, basically to me, nobody deserves their style to be judged at all, because everybody's style is quite personal.
Just like our fashion style, everyone is different in their own ways.
Yeah, so to me, it's not that necessary for me to join any competition. But if I were to represent my club in a competition, I would join, of course, for the sake of my club.
I mean, you're the vice president. Of course, you have to represent.
Yeah, represent Poetry Club.
Since first year, first sem, and then you came all the way to vice president. Inshallah, future president, inshallah.
Yeah, dedicated lah. Ameen.
Ameen. All right. So we have a lot of questions to ask, but like, I just want to know, IIUM Poetry Club, like, can you enter the club just to, you know, improve your English maybe?
Of course, definitely. There are, from my tenure, I always see different like new students. They will always join the club, and they have sometimes they'll have little to no knowledge of English. They would like speak Malay in our meetings and stuff, but yet they're so intrigued in like English poetry. And that's what makes me so proud of them. And like, everybody can enter this club. It's like a safe space, like I said. And anybody can join. Like, whether your English is bad or your English is good, like nobody is there to care. Everybody in that club is equal, no matter how much they understand English, of course.
So everyone is there to learn together.
Yeah, it's universal. You can actually write poetry in Malay in our club, of course. Any language is welcome.
But then there's also the Malay Poetry Club. So if they want to write in Malay, do they have to join that one?
It's basically, it's up to their preference and their knowledge, because not many people actually know about these poetry clubs. I found out that there's a Malay version of this club, so not many people would know about it. So like, if you were to know IIUM Poetry Club first, then maybe you can showcase your Malay poetry in our club, but maybe we can recommend you to the Malay club, of course.
So it depends on your comfort also lah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So other than that, you already told us some of the aim of Poetry Club. Maybe after this we can discuss more deeply about the IIM Poetry Club, because we're gonna go to a commercial break soon, because we have a lot more questions to ask you, because you seem like an interesting person to ask questions. So far, every question I asked you have answered very perfectly.
Thank you.
And you're very interesting to talk to.
Really?
Yeah, you never stop talking. And it's just wow.
That's
So,
a
before we go to a commercial break, I just want to ask one last thing.
Yep.
Do you think I should enter?
Of course. Basically, everybody in the studio should join, actually.
Everybody in the studio?
The more the merrier.
Everyone in the studio right
The more the merrier.
All right. So, why don't we, just take a breather?
Yeah.
We take a break. We'll be back. Stay tuned only on Coffee O'Clock by IIUM TV. Take a sip, take a seat. Welcome back to the second episode of Coffee O'Clock, where we have a very special guest joining us to discuss the topic, discovering talent in poetry. So let's welcome back Sister D. Hi, Sister D.
Hello.
So how was the break just now?
It was good.
It's very cold in
Sip
here.
of water.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Feeling good. Alhamdulillah. All right.
Yeah.
So, let's move on to our next question for you. Because like I said, we had a lot of questions for her tonight. Okay, so I want to know, how did you, discover your passion about poetry? Like, has the passion developed ever since you were a kid maybe? Or did you, what usually inspires you to write poetry in general?
Okay. So the first time I fell in love with poetry it was quite a sad moment for me. I was 12 and I lost my first best friend, and I didn't know how to express myself, and I don't think a 12-year-old could talk about losing a friend that deeply yet. Aww. So then when I thought about it, I was listening to Taylor Swift song and I was listening to Justin Bieber, and I'm like, these lyrics could become poetry. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to write my own hit. So I write my poetry. That's where the passion started, actually. Yeah.
So it started as like a songwriting inspiration kind of thing.
Because like my family is from a very musical, very virtuoso background. So like music is already in my blood. So then I resorted to actually I didn't want to sing. I like writing. So I was like, you know what? Let's just write poetry for now. Just don't sing. Your voice just sounds like no. Please don't.
I'm sure you have a beautiful voice. After this, after our live, I'm gonna ask her to sing. You guys cannot see. It's very exclusive content.
I do not consent.
Okay, but like other than that, is there anything that inspires you?
Inspires me, huh? Okay, so what inspires me to write poetry was it could be anything. Any type of experience that I'm going through right now. For example, this situation where I'm a guest in an interview. So I wrote a poem about it, which you guys will hear about it later.
You guys will hear about it later.
I will recite it for you guys. And like literally anything could become an inspiration for me. It can be a person. It can be it can be a song. It can be a situation. So anything can become my inspiration. Yeah.
So far, you think like how many poems have you written? Like estimation about how many?
I can say that it's under 100.
Under 100. Are you sure under?
I think under lah.
Okay. But most of it is like what inspires most of your poems?
Yeah. Most of them.
People.
Actually no, my feelings. I inspire myself to write poetry because I can be quite impulsive. So then when I'm in the mood, I just write, you know.
So it just comes to you and you're just like, I need to write this somewhere.
Yeah, because who knows, maybe one day I might publish a book.
A book? Inshallah. Who knows, right? We all just can pray for Sister D right here. Okay, so next, given that you are into poetry, right? Do you have any maybe favorite poets?
Ooh, I like this question. I'm an old school type of gal, okay? My poetry is quite old school. It's not really that abstract. It's not avant-garde that much. I like to play with words. And like, I am actually heavily influenced by Emily Dickinson and William Shakespeare. Robert Frost as well. Those three are my main, they're like my Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Of poetry actually. Yeah, but
the Holy Trinity of poetry.
They're the Holy Trinity of my inspiration and my style influence. They're the main ones. But like I've recently eyed some local poets as well. I recently made friends with one local poet. She's called Nori Ryoko. I lost contact with her actually, but she's a good poet. My best friend, my ex-best friend actually gave her poetry book to me, that girl, Nori Ryoko, and I read her poetry and it's like it's close to me. It speaks to me.
Wow.
And another local poet that I recently found out about is Melizarani Selva. I think she's Indian. She's an Indian and she lives in Malaysia, and her poetry is all about talking about the struggles of being a minority in Malaysia. And her poetry is like very straightforward, and you can actually understand the flow of the stories in her poetry. Her poetry is literally like reading a storybook, basically.
Wow.
And it's just so beautiful, and then you can relate it to the local culture, Malaysian culture.
Yes.
So I'm trying to implement more of my heritage as well into my poetry, but I've yet to do that because I haven't got any inspiration. But inshallah, maybe I will incorporate my culture into my poetry.
So about the Holy Trinity that you mentioned just now, like, why do you adore them? Is there any specific reasons?
Like I said, they inspired my writing style because I like old school style of writing. I love the rhymes, I love the meter, iambic, tantrum, all of those things, all of those literature things, YTJT. But another thing is that they are very honest with their feelings when they write their poetry. For example, Shakespeare can add a little bit of humor in his poetry, and Emily Dickinson, sometimes her shallowness just she brings her shallowness into her poetry in such a unique way. Robert Frost just writes mostly about nature, and he appreciates everything that is around him. So I think that all of those three combined is just my style. I figured out that those three people inspired me to write just like them.
So the combination of them three is equals to you.
Yeah. The Holy Trinity equals to D. Yeah.
Like that. Okay. So I just want to know, are there any challenges so far that you have faced while writing poetry?
Okay. As a student, as a full-time student, being interested in writing poetry, there's little to no challenges, like the major challenges, of course, because you're not competing with anybody. But sometimes when you read other people's poets or poetry and you listen to their writing style, sometimes you would get kind of insecure about it. You're like, I should have written my poetry like that. I should have changed my style just like that person. That's kind of like the insecurity in there. And sometimes when I read some Malaysian indie poetry book or something, I would be like, how is this possible? How did they get to publish their book and not me? You know?
There's Malay indie poetry?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot of them actually. Like the one I mentioned just now, Melizarani Selva. Yeah, her book is quite rare. Her book is published quite rare. There's like not a lot of copies there in here in Malaysia. So that's why I'm like, this is so unfair. Why is this? How is this underrated? Yeah, like that.
Alright, so just now I did ask you if you have joined, like if there were any competitions. So far in your whole life, you have never joined any poetry competitions?
No, nada.
Not at all.
Zero.
How about for IIUM Poetry Club? Have they, what do you call this? Have they held a competition? Maybe in the past before you joined?
In the past, yes. Before I joined the club, of course. And my tenure is actually planning to do a poetry competition. Probably next semester, inshallah. Please pray for that competition to run smoothly.
Inshallah.
Yeah, it's in
so
the process.
Who do you think would be able to join? Only members of IIUM Poetry Club?
Anyone, my dear.
Can join.
Anyone can join. Even you, even the director, I think. No, really, anyone can join, basically.
But then if I join, I'm scared. Like, what if I lose?
It's all about the experience, my dear.
True.
Yeah.
All right, it's to gain experience, to learn more about poetry. All right, sure. Okay, so next question is, sometimes when writing poetry, sometimes writing poetry, it helps you to maybe endure anything that you have faced. Maybe a heartbreak. Maybe like just now you said you lost a friend when you were 12. So how do you think poetry can help you express your feelings? And like, do you think it actually can help you express, and why?
Honestly, out of all of the coping mechanisms that I've tried, poetry is one of the methods that actually help me to express my feelings, because sometimes feelings are meant to be expressed in such a beautiful way, because it's yourself, it's how you feel. You basically have to, it's not I'm promoting romanticizing your feeling. It's just a matter of validating yourself, your own feelings. If no one wants to validate your feelings, you should
do it
prioritize.
on your own.
Yes.
You don't need anyone else
Yes,
to do that
you don't
for
need
you.
anyone else to do that for you. Yeah.
True. So like, you obviously express your feelings a lot into your poetry. Like for example, when you feel angry, what are certain words that you use? Maybe.
I don't think I can mention it in this.
Okay, maybe how about when you're sad? When
I'm sad. When I was 12, when I wrote a poem about losing a friend, I lost another friend, and I wrote this part, and I wrote this one line.
All right.
Light, fat guys in spandex. That was me trying to romanticize my sadness when I was young.
Okay.
No idea why I wrote that.
So we have a lot more to ask to Dee right here. So stay tuned till the end of the show, because like we mentioned just now, Sister Dee here will recite a poetry for us. So we'll be back only on Coffee O'Clock by IIUM TV. Take a sip, take a seat. It's Coffee O'Clock. Welcome back to the second episode of the first ever season of Coffee O'Clock. So, if you guys don't know yet, the topic for tonight's episode is discovering talents in poetry, where we have a very special guest, Dee. Hi, Dee.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so just now we talked about some ways you express feelings into your poetry. So, I want to get back a little bit into that. So, just now you give example of what you may included into your poetry when you feel sad. How about when you feel happy? What are some words that you could write in there?
When I'm happy, I write. Sometimes I would rhyme. When when it's a positive poet, if it's a positive poetry, I would rhyme my poetries.
Ooh.
Because when you're happy, everything is beautiful to you. So the words must be chosen carefully.
So for example of the rhymes, maybe?
The rhymes. Sometimes
something that rhymes with smile?
Yeah.
Is there anything that rhymes with smile?
Yeah. Smile. Your smile could go for miles.
Okay, sure, we'll take that.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Don't be disappointed. It's all right. Okay. So I'll just move on to the next question. So, do you intend to actually, make your talent in poetry writing as maybe your side income or maybe even your main income in the future?
Oh, I mean, like I've mentioned before, I'm trying to find a way to publish my own poetry book since I've stumbled upon so many local poets. They actually try to publish their works and it's just so amazing. It's such an amazing accomplishment, So I want to feel that too. I want to be heard. I want to be heard by so many people. I want people to actually know how I feel. I want people to be like, hello. I want people to know who I am. So
you want to tell the world, this is who I am
Yeah.
through a book filled with the poems that you wrote.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little mini documentary for me.
If you could make a goal, like within how many years would you like that to happen?
Okay. Wow. I never thought about that actually. Good question.
Yes.
Wow. Probably not now. I mean, I could start compiling my works.
We're all busy studying.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do.
There's a lot to do, but right now I'm starting very slow. I'm starting to write more. I'm starting to compile more. I'm starting to archive even more, so that I can actually turn it into a little book that everyone can relate to and appreciate one day, inshallah. Amin.
One day, within how many? Just an estimation of how many years?
Oh wow.
Would you say 5, or is that too short?
5 is minimum lah.
Minimum.
10 is the maximum.
That's like pushing the limits.
Yeah, pushing the boundary. Inshallah. I don't know.
Inshallah, one day we will see a poetry book by Dee right here, guys.
Ooh.
In popular. Number 1 bestseller. Amin, Amila.
Okay, Amin. Why not Queen of Kunya?
All book outlets.
Yeah, okay. Now we're wishful thinking now.
It's okay. It's better to,
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Okay. So I want to know, can you share with us how you maybe improve your poetry from time to time? Do you have your own way, or maybe you follow some other poets on how they improve?
Okay, one way for me to improve my writing is to observe. The key is to observe. Observe how people write. Observe how their style is written. Basically, you just have to keep yourself alert for the surrounding. Basically, like if the people around you, basically, like if they write beautiful poetry, you must feel encouraged to write beautiful poetry as well.
Yes, true.
So there's no right or wrong in writing poetry.
Yeah.
As you know, everybody has their own style, of course. But like observing how people express their feelings in their own unique way, it's just a one way for you to improve your writing skills and like basically actually not only just improve your writing style, of course, improve your mental well-being as a person. Maybe you can become more empathetic towards someone who is going through something.
Yeah.
So yeah, poetry is quite an emotional activity, honestly. It actually makes you get to know someone better, of course, and it lets you dive deeper into that person's mind. What goes on in their minds, what happened to them, like their life story, basically.
Because like from the reader's perspective, they should be able to understand how the writer feels by just reading what they wrote, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, if they want to purposefully confuse their readers, of course, sometimes it would happen, honestly.
That happens?
That happens, yeah, sometimes.
Ooh,
like,
have you ever
Shakespeare
tried to confuse
Huh?
your readers through your poetry? Not because you haven't published it yet, but like, have you tried to confuse?
I tried to confuse my mom once. She was like, "Apa ni?" I'm like, "This is art, okay? You don't understand. It's not a phase, mom. It's a lifestyle." Honestly, yeah. To me, poetry is a lifestyle. It's a life journey. It's like making a little memoir of yourself, appreciating your own life.
Wow. All right. So, I just want to know, like, do you have any maybe advice or message to those who are interested in poetry, but maybe they feel unsure on where to begin or how to start? Perhaps maybe you can share your own tips to them.
Okay. So, I always stress upon this. Whenever someone wants to seek advice for them to like write poetry, basically, there's no rule at all. You just have to wing it. You just have to be in your zone. You have to feel what you feel, suck it up, and realize and be empathetic towards yourself, and actually vomit it in words.
Vomit it?
Yeah, you have to vomit your thoughts. Basically, it's word vomit. Poetry is word vomit. Okay?
Alright.
So, it is how, basically, like, a good poetry is when you are being honest with yourself, of course, right? You are celebrating yourself. So, you just have to keep writing and writing, of course. Like, practice makes perfect, of course, yeah. But, but like, you have to, like, you know your own pace. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like, oh yeah, I have to write this a lot. I have to write a lot to actually become someone who is someone who is interested in poetry. No, you don't have to. You just have to be intrigued towards it. Okay, but like, one thing to know is that if you love poetry, it's also one way for you to learn. Yeah, if you are reading other people's poetry, it's also a way for you to learn. Just try to practice analysing people's poetry, of course. Ponder about it, and actually try to apply that into your feelings, and then vomit it. That's my method. Observe, vomit.
Observe, vomit. You consume, you eat the words, and
then
then
you
you vomit those words.
Yes, beautifully, of course.
I mean, even if uglily, like, it's still poetry?
Yes. Honestly, the uglier it is, the much more raw your feelings are, the much more honest your feelings are. Yeah. It doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to have a couplet or iambic pentameter or something. You don't have to. You don't have to do that. If it's their own style, I salute you. Do whatever you want. But, you know, like, if you think that your poetry is like, it's so ugly, it doesn't look like Shakespeare's poetry, then it's okay.
You're not Shakespeare.
Yeah, you're not Shakespeare.
You don't have to follow Shakespeare.
Yeah, you are yourself.
Be yourself.
Yeah, for example, you are Nikki. You are writing your own poetry like this, certain way.
Okay, alright.
That is Nikki trademark. Like that.
So the advice out there is try not to follow other people. Just use whatever word is in your head, put it into whatever piece of material that you are writing on.
Just be proud of it, even though it's ugly. Be proud of it. When I was 12, I was literally writing about spandex, as in me feeling sad. So there's no right or wrong to it, literally.
Alright. So just now you have you said you prepared a poem, so can we, listen to it really quickly?
Okay, I'm just going to read it just as I am right now because it's supposed to be like this, okay? Okay. The title is called Baby's First Interview.
Oh, baby's first interview. All right,
It's
go
like,
on.
baby's first toy, you know what I mean? Okay. You know Shakespeare? Sit prim and proper. Stop bouncing your trotter. Hold something to avoid tremor. Pay attention to the monitor. Don't forget to grin. Slacken your chin. Shove those voices into the bin. Make sure you're heard. Tell them what you've learned. Hope that they're immersed. Don't tell them that you rehearsed. That's all.
Wow, mashallah. All right. With that being said, everyone, thank you so much for watching tonight's episode. Don't forget to follow IIUM TV across all of our social media on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Spotify, and also YouTube. So catch us in the next episode of Coffee O'Clock, only on IIUM TV every Monday at 9 p.m. Thank you and Assalamualaikum, everyone.